You think you know why your cat is in your house. You think it was your decision. It was not. That story is wrong, and the real one is stranger. For 10,000 years, humans have told themselves the same comfortable story about cats. We tamed them. We chose them. We let them in. Scientists who study domestication will tell you, carefully and precisely, that almost none of that is true. The truth is colder, and somehow more intimate. Your cat was never recruited for a job. It applied for one, on its own terms, and got the position. Welcome back to Cat Mind. If you are new here, subscribe before you go, because by the end of this video you will look at the cat in your house differently. Today we are going to answer the question almost every cat owner has asked at some point, half joking, half not. What is this animal actually for? The answer involves rodents, grain stores, ancient Cyprus, a genome study that shocked its own researchers, and a secret your cat is keeping from you right now in this room. Stay until the end, because the final answer is not the one you are expecting, and it changes what it means that your cat chose to stay. Let's start with the story everyone already believes, because you need to see exactly where it breaks. The story goes like this. Ancient humans started farming. Farming created grain stores. Grain stores attracted mice. Mice attracted wildcats. Humans noticed, and decided to keep the cats around. It sounds reasonable. It sounds like something we decided. There is just one problem. The genetic and archaeological evidence tells a very different sequence of events. Researcher Claudio Ottoni and his team, publishing genetic work on cat domestication, traced the ancestry of nearly every house cat alive today back to a single wildcat lineage from the Near East. That lineage is Felis silvestris libica, the African wildcat. Not a different species we bred into something new. The same animal, almost unchanged, just living closer to us. Here is the detail that should stop you. Unlike dogs, cats show almost no skeletal changes from their wild ancestor. We never selectively bred them for size, temperament, or behavior the way we did with every other domestic animal. Dogs were shaped by us, generation after generation, into something new. Cats walked in mostly looking the way they already did. That is not what domestication is supposed to look like. Which raises an uncomfortable question. If we did not choose them, and we did not shape them, what exactly is the relationship we have been living inside for 10,000 years? The archaeological record gives us a different starting point entirely, and it is not in a granary. It is in a grave. In 2004, on the island of Cyprus, archaeologists uncovered a 9,500-year-old burial. A human skeleton, and beside it, deliberately placed, the skeleton of a cat. Cyprus has no native wildcats. Every cat on that island had to arrive by boat, carried there on purpose, by someone who wanted it with them. That timeline is critical. It predates large-scale grain storage in that specific region. The cat was not there to guard wheat. The cat was there as a companion, in a burial, treated with a kind of care we usually reserve for something we love. So the practical story, cat as pest control, may have happened somewhere. But it does not explain Cyprus. It does not explain a grave. Biologist John Bradshaw, who has spent decades studying feline behavior, describes the process differently. He calls it self-domestication. The cats walked toward us. We did not walk toward them. Picture the actual scene, 10,000 years ago. Early settlements. Food waste. Rodents drawn to that waste. And wildcats, opportunistic and solitary, noticing an easy meal that required almost no risk. The boldest individuals, the ones with slightly lower fear response to human presence, got access to that food. The fearful ones stayed in the wild, hungrier. Over many generations, that single trait, tolerance of humans, got selected for, not by us, but by the cat's own willingness to take the risk. You did not domesticate the cat. The cat ran a slow, patient experiment on itself, and the version that could tolerate your presence is the one sitting in your house right now. That reframes the entire question this video opened with. We asked what cats are for. But for assumes purpose assigned from the outside. Self-domestication assumes something else completely. It assumes a negotiation. An animal deciding, on its own evolutionary terms, that proximity to humans was worth the cost of losing some of its wildness. And the cost was real. A solitary, territorial predator, evolved over millions of years to need no one, started tolerating the one species on Earth capable of destroying it instantly. That is not a small adjustment. That is one of the strangest bets in the history of any species. And it is still happening quietly inside your living room. Now we get to the part most people never think about. If cats were not bred for a job, what does that mean for what they are actually doing inside your house? Because your cat is doing something. It is not decorative. It is not simply present. Behavioral researchers have spent the last 20 years mapping exactly what role the modern house cat performs. And the findings point somewhere unexpected. Cats appear to have shifted, inside human homes, from pest controller to something closer to an emotional regulator. Researcher Kristyn Vitale, who studies the cat-human bond at Oregon State University, has shown that cats form genuine attachment relationships with their owners, comparable in structure to attachment patterns seen in dogs and even human infants. In her studies, the majority of cats tested showed secure attachment to their person. They sought proximity. They used their owner as a safe base before exploring an unfamiliar environment. That is not the behavior of an indifferent animal living alongside you for convenience. That is the behavior of an animal that has organized part of its emotional world around your presence. And the regulation goes both directions. This is the part most owners feel but have never had explained to them in scientific terms. Purring sits at a frequency range roughly between 25 and 150 Hz. Research into vibrational frequency has associated ranges in that band with effects on tissue and bone density in mammals. Cats purr far more often, and in far more contexts, than simple contentment would explain. They purr when injured. They purr while healing. They purr next to you, on your chest, at the exact frequency associated with physiological repair. No major veterinary body claims a cat's purr functions as medical treatment for a human, and this is not a substitute for actual care. But researchers studying the phenomenon have proposed that purring may double as a low-cost self-healing mechanism, one your cat appears to extend to you simply by choosing to lie there. There is a second separate body of evidence, less physical and more behavioral, that points the same direction. Multiple studies on human-animal interaction have measured drops in self-reported stress and lowered cortisol after short periods of contact with a calm cat. None of this proves your cat understands what stress is, or that it intends to help you. That distinction matters, and good science is careful about it. But it does suggest something quieter and almost as strange. The animal sleeping on your lap right now may be functioning mechanically as a regulator of your nervous system, whether either of you ever framed it that way or not. So here is where the original question starts to dissolve. What are cats for? The pest control story was never the real one. The emotional regulation story was never assigned, either. Nobody designed your cat to lower your heart rate. Nobody bred it to read your mood from across the room. It simply turned out that an animal built for stillness, patience, and quiet observation is extraordinarily good at being near a stressed primate. And that brings us to the secret. The one your cat is keeping from you, not through deception, but through an instinct it cannot override. Cats are an unusual case in the animal kingdom. They are both predator and prey. Small enough to be hunted by larger animals, sharp enough to hunt smaller ones themselves. That dual identity wrote a rule into their nervous system that never got edited out by domestication. Never show weakness. Never reveal pain. Never let the room know you are vulnerable. In the wild, an injured or sick cat that displays its condition becomes the easiest target in the area. So evolution selected, ruthlessly, for cats that mask discomfort almost perfectly. Veterinary behaviorists describe this constantly. Cats are masters of concealment. By the time a cat's pain becomes visible to an untrained eye, the underlying condition is often already advanced. This is not a claim that you can diagnose illness from behavior alone, and it is never a replacement for an actual veterinary exam. It is simply the instinct underneath the secret. Your cat is, at almost every moment, performing wellness for you. Not lying. Performing. The same way it would in the wild, for the same ancient reason. Appearing fine is survival. Which means the calm, composed animal stretched out on your couch right now may be carrying something it has decided, on a level far below conscious thought, that you are not allowed to see. That is the first layer of the secret. There is a second layer, and it is less about concealment and more about identity. Your cat has never stopped being a wildcat. Genetically, behaviorally, neurologically, the animal asleep on your bed is close to identical to the one that walked toward a Cyprus campsite 10,000 years ago. It still hunts in the same crouched, silent posture. It still marks territory the same way. It still calculates escape routes in unfamiliar rooms. None of that left, because none of that needed to leave. What changed was not the cat. What changed was the boundary it was willing to cross, and how much risk it was willing to accept, to stay close to something warm-blooded and unpredictable. So the secret your cat keeps is not a single hidden fact. It is the ongoing daily decision to remain wild and still choose you, every single day, without ever being forced to. A dog was bred across thousands of generations to need you. A cat was never bred at all. It simply keeps deciding, generation after generation, individual after individual, that the trade is worth it. Researcher Carlos Driscoll, who worked on the original wildcat ancestry study, has pointed out that this makes the cat the only animal in human history that domesticated itself for a reason we still do not fully understand. Not food alone. Free-living cats can hunt and survive without humans entirely, and many do, all over the world. The ones who stay are not staying because they have no other option. They are staying because something about proximity to you specifically continues to outweigh independence. And that something has never been fully named by science. Sit with that for a second. An animal that does not need you, that could leave, that retains every wild instinct that predates your species' agriculture, chooses daily to remain within arm's reach. That is not what a pet does. That is closer to what an ally does. A coexistence two species negotiated slowly, without language, across 10,000 years, and somehow never broke. And the strangest part is this: your cat experiences none of this as sentiment. There is no human-style devotion behind its eyes when it sits near you. There is something else, older and quieter. A continuous low-level calculation that you specifically, in this house, remain safe enough, useful enough, and tolerable enough to stay near. Every day, that calculation runs again. Every day, it comes out the same. That is not less meaningful than a dog's devotion. In some ways, it is more meaningful. Because nothing forced it. Evolution did not write loyalty into your cat's code. Choice did. Every time your cat walks across the room and presses its body against your leg, that is not an animal that has to. That is an animal that, after 10,000 years of having every reason not to, still does. So when you ask what house cats are really for, you are asking the wrong kind of question. For implies a function assigned by someone else. Cats were never assigned anything. They are not pest control. They were never only that. They are not therapy animals, in any formal sense, though the effect is often the same. They are not even, technically, fully tame. What they are is an open-ended experiment that one species started on itself, near a granary or a campsite or a grave on Cyprus, and never finished, and is still running in your house right now. Let's bring this back down to the individual scale, to the specific cat that may be near you as you watch this. That cat has a nervous system shaped for solitary survival in semi-arid scrubland thousands of years ago. And it has decided, against every one of those old instincts, to spend its life 2 feet from a primate that talks to it in a voice it cannot fully decode. It hides its pain from you because hiding pain kept its ancestors alive. It still does that, even though you would help it instantly if you knew. That instinct is older than kindness, and it has not caught up yet. And it stays every day, not because it has no choice, but because some quiet, ancient calculation keeps landing on you. Now scale that up. Every house cat on this planet, hundreds of millions of them, is running some version of the same calculation, inside some version of the same negotiation, that started in the same region of the world, roughly 10,000 years ago. No other domestic animal got this deal. Cattle were bred for meat. Horses were bred for labor. Dogs were bred, generation after generation, into obedience and need. Cats alone walked in on their own legs, kept almost all of their wild architecture, and simply never left. Not because they were made to stay. Because they decided to, and keep deciding to. Now scale it up once more, past your house, past every house, to what this actually says about the relationship between our two species. Humans like to believe we are the ones who domesticate. We assign that word to ourselves constantly. We tamed the dog. We tamed the horse. We tamed the cow. The cat is the quiet exception to that whole story, sitting in plain sight in hundreds of millions of homes, never having needed our permission to begin the relationship in the first place. That is the actual secret. Not a hidden fact you didn't know. A reversal you were never told. The cat did not wait to be chosen. The cat chose. And every single day that it stays near you instead of leaving, Instead of disappearing into the version of itself that needs no one, it is choosing again. You did not tame a wild animal. You are living inside the longest-running, most successful diplomatic agreement one species has ever negotiated with another, without a single word exchanged. So tonight, when your cat walks past you, glances at you, and decides, again, to stay in the room instead of slipping away into the dark corners of the house, watch it differently. That is not a pet performing affection on command. That is a wild animal, 10,000 years deep into a negotiation it started, renewing the agreement one more time, for reasons it has never had to explain to you, and never will. If this changed how you see the cat in your house, tell me in the comments the exact moment you first realized your cat had chosen you, not the other way around. Was it a specific night? A specific year? A moment you didn't understand until right now? I want to know. Write it below. If you want to understand exactly what your cat does in the hours you're not watching, the video on your screen right now picks up precisely where this one ends. Watch that one next. This is Cat Mind. Your cat has not changed in 10,000 years. You are the one who finally understands what is actually happening. Subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.